everyone. Welcome back to Let Glory Shine. I'm your host, Martha Glory, and I'm so excited to be here once again with another fantastic guest. Y'all, you've probably seen his beautiful face on our network, Prospera TV network, because he is also a host of a channel here on the network. But for me, he's first a friend. He has really stepped up just as a gentle soul to kind of guide me on this journey as I started recording for Prospera TV. He's been recording for years now. You'll get to hear a little bit about his story, but I'm going to go ahead and bring him on in. His name is Daryl Snow. Welcome, Daryl.
Welcome. Nice to be here. Thank you for doing this. I appreciate the opportunity. I'm usually on the
Absolutely.
other side of the microphone, like you said, so this is nice.
Yeah, does it feel weird?
It does. Usually, I've only been doing my podcast for 3 years now, but it definitely feels weird to be on this side of the mic. So it's like I want to continue to ask you
Ask the
questions.
questions.
Yeah.
Well, I got you covered for the next 28 and a half minutes. Can you like just be,
Yep,
yeah,
we're good.
good. Awesome. Again, thank you so much for being here. But I like I said in your intro, you've been nothing but a great friend in kind of helping me navigate and hold my hand, as I started recording these episodes. I remember having the first conversation with you and I was like, Daryl, like I don't even know how to record. And you're like, get on Zoom and hit record and just start talking. And I was like, what?
Right.
Like,
Yeah, that's what I did. I mean, those who have listened and heard my story, they know that when I did this, I never even had a microphone or a camera. So, I just followed God's nudging, and here we are 3 years later, 150 plus interviews into it, and just spreading whatever message God has for those who are hearing it. So, I encourage anyone to step into their own passion and their own power, and just don't be hit with the 2x4 as often as I had to be. Start doing it.
yeah, no, I mean, I'm only 6 months in, but every time that I get to show up each week to do an interview with somebody, I feel like it's an honor because people are busy, people have lives. There's a lot going on in the world. And so somebody being willing to give you 30 or 45 minutes of their time to record for your little old show, like, I feel like that's a privilege. I feel like that's an honor. And I know with 3 years under your belt, you've got to feel similar.
Yeah, it's definitely an honor. The part about my show that I love the most is at the end when the recording is off and people say, I've never shared that part of my story before anywhere. I've never spoken about that. Thank you for giving a safe space for me to share that. And so it is an honor because the show isn't about me, it's about them. And then what's even cooler is that after the show, to watch them just start blossom and go on to share their story more and in more places, and then evolve into who they're truly meant to be, which is what my business and my coaching was all about, is helping people to step into their passion and their purpose and connect the two instead of hiding behind the mask of who they think they should be. So,
Yeah, I love that. So, your A Warrior Spirit is your show. So, tell us a little bit about the focus of your show, and then tell me what Praxis 33 is.
well, Praxis 33, I'll start with that one because that was the originator. That's my actual business. And I named it that because Praxis is the integration of thought and action. And I
Mm,
wanted my clients to put their thoughts and their action in alignment with each other. And then 33 is an angel number for success and prosperity. So if you put your thoughts and actions in alignment with each other, then you should have the success and prosperity. So that's how Praxis 33 came to be. A warrior spirit came to be because God, when He told me to do the show, He said, you're going to give a voice to the voiceless, turn their mess into their message, and make it a survival guide for others. And to me, that's what a warrior spirit is. You rise above your challenges, and it's as the my theme song says at the end, it's not about the fight, it's about how we rise from it. And to me, that's a warrior and a warrior spirit. Also, learning when to put down the sword and to help those along, not fight with those, along. I think to me that's the true essence of a warrior is when to fight and when to not. And a true warrior should always be helping those who need their help anyway. So.
Yeah. It's I say this all the time. There's no purpose to heal unless you're going to use it to serve others, right? Like even if you heal just for self, there is a ripple effect of our own healing, right? There, if you are truly healing from trauma, from past, from whatever that is, and evolving into the person that God's created you to be, right? You will inevitably have that ripple effect, and you will help and serve others in that ripple effect. But for me, the main purpose of continuing on the faith walk, continuing on the healing journey, is to continue to evolve so that I can serve, so that the people that I ripple out to then can serve because I can't make a huge impact on my own. I mean, I can, right? But I can make way more through others. And I think that's what you're basically saying by the warrior spirit as well.
Yeah, and I've been in the people business for over 50 years, and I have never met a person who is either healing or healed who hasn't innately reached behind to help others.
True.
I'll be 61 soon. So in my 60 years, I have never met one person who is healed or healing who has said, "Nah, I'm good. That's just for me. F you guys." No, they've
Right.
all done it in the
Yeah.
essence of helping others. And I think that's the true connection to healing is that we realize we're not individuals. We're here for each other and we should be helping each other, you know, all hands raise the boat, right? So we should not be here just for ourselves. And that's why your show is, what it is and what my show is, because we're not here for ourselves. We're not here just to self promote. We're here to help others and help them become what they're supposed to be.
Yeah. God didn't create us to be alone. God created us for community. God created us to grow and to, right, inhabit the earth. So I think about this all the time that so often when we are ascending, we feel very alone, or before we get on the ascension road, right? Like the pain, the trauma keeps us in this almost like ivory towers of isolation, right? But once you break out of that ivory tower of isolation and you understand like there's community, there's help, there's purpose, there's like all those things, you find your people. You find the things that you need in order to fill you in order to continue the evolution and the ascension process, right? But it can be very lonely until you're able to step out of self, out of isolation, out of that ivory tower, right? And so often we keep ourselves very isolated because we think nobody's going to understand us. Nobody's been through what I've been through. Nobody could possibly have hurt somebody else this badly, right? And we tell ourselves all of these excuses. And I remember having this conversation with you early on, and you were like, I wrote the book on this. I got you. So talk to me a little bit about that.
Well, I mean, there's a reason why punishment in prisons or in prison camps or wherever is isolation,
Mm,
right? They put people in solitary confinement because solitary confinement is where we do the most damage because that's where we speak to ourselves, no one else to talk us down off the ledge, right? There's a show on TV called Alone, and basically it's a survivalist show. People are dropped into these remote areas, 10 people at a time, far apart from each other, and their mission is to forge off the land and survive. And the one who survives the longest wins like $500,000 or whatever. And you see these people who are adept in living off the land because that's their background, they're survivalists, right? And 9 times out of 10, they tap out because they can't stand the mental process. They can't
uh,
stand the isolation. They're great at surviving. They've got the food, they've got the water, they've got the shelter, they've built the thing, but they can't stand being alone. And I will say, as someone who's attempted to commit suicide twice, one of the main reasons for the attempting that is because I didn't feel like anyone else could relate
Mm,
and really understand what was going on in my head. Now, luckily, I didn't succeed at that. And I didn't succeed at that because I remembered there are people who are relying on me. There are people who will be affected by my demise of my own taking. And when I reconnected with those thoughts and those individuals, it prevented me from taking my own life. So community is important, and there's people out there who are okay being by themselves. They're okay, you know, not dealing with other people, but they're very rare because most people need at least one other person. And even if your community is one person, one other person, you're not alone. And it's that essence of nobody gets it. It's the lack of hope, the lack of, I mean, if you have one modicum blade of grass of hope, it will bring you back from doing those things that are irreversible. And so community is huge, and finding, you don't necessarily have to find the people who think exactly like you do. You have to have in-depth conversations with people who don't think like you, but you still have to have a community of people where you feel seen and heard and understood,
right,
not just a arbitrary number.
right.
I hope that answers your question.
Well, in a roundabout way, right? It all comes down to the same thing. We're created for community. We're not created to do life alone. That's not how God intended the human race, right? Like that's why we are different than animals. Animals can live alone for a long time. It's a lot, at least most animals. For humans, it's a lot harder because of the connection piece. So tell me, in your story, in your acorn shell of a story, I know you have a very large and long story, but give us the acorn version of the story of how you got to do the things you are doing today.
The acorn version would be that I was willing to go inside to heal and not just mask over the healing process. I grew up in a very tumultuous, abusive household. My mother was, um, and my grandfather were very abusive, verbally and physically, people. And for many years, I just acknowledged the pain. I realized that there was trauma and said I'm good by it. I actually did talk therapy for many years, and thought, okay, well, I've addressed it, so I'm good. But a couple years ago, I actually did the inner work to actually recover from it, and that has allowed me to then be a better version of myself. Actually, I would venture to say my true version of myself. For 58 years, I faked it, and for 2 years, I've lived it. So I feel like I'm in my infancy. So until I was willing to go inward and actually do the hard work, my life was just always running from one thing to the other, reaching for this, grabbing for that, running for that. All the shiny objects out there were my release. And now I'm able to stand in what I do and be authentic about who I am. And it's allowed me to now transform my life and the relationships around me.
Do you remember a specific moment that made you say, what I'm doing is just no longer working and I have to do something different?
I remember a specific moment, but I didn't act on it in that moment. I was sitting at my father's deathbed, and I was working real estate at the time. And because real estate doesn't have any time off, I was having to pull out my laptop and write a contract for a deal that I was working on. And I remember my father projectile vomiting and the nurses cleaning him up as he was basically dying because he died several hours later. But I remember sitting there going, what the fuck am I doing? Why can't I even give myself a moment to have this human experience with my father? And it was basically my never again moment. And I worked several more years to work my way out of ever having to do that again. And I remember a couple years ago when my son was having eye surgery and we had to travel from Arizona to Indianapolis. And I told my wife I'm going with. And she cried. She cried because I was actually giving my family first, not my leftovers, but my first. And so I had worked my way out of having to be on that hamster wheel and just showing up for the people who I'm supposed to show up for. So that that was my acorn version of how I am and the moment where I knew that that was all wrong.
Right. And that you had just been existing
Hmm.
in for over 5 decades, right? Like I
Yeah.
remember that feeling so sacredly, of that feeling of being like, I've never lived my entire life. I've literally merely existed. And that took my breath away. And I just remember weeping in just a ball because I had realized that I had been coping, I'd been staying alive, but I had not yet lived. And so to be able to live over this, really, really live, right, in my authenticity, in my courage, in who God's created me to be over the last several years, right? There's nothing like it. And even my worst days as this living, breathing, beautiful human that God's created me to be are still so much better than my best days of just merely existing.
Well, I remember, I mean, I used to take pride in the fact that I used to throw a dart at a map and every 2 years I just move. And I realized once I was healed that that wasn't really something to be proud about because I was just running from myself. I was running to the next location, hoping that life would be better than the location I was currently in. The problem is that I was in every one of those locations. You
Right.
know, I've lived all over this country, but I've never lived in any of those places. I can tell you the names of the places I've lived in, but I can't even tell you one life fact about any of those places because I wasn't living, I was existing.
Mm.
And until I fully healed, now I feel like I'm fully living and there's joy in every day. And I can tell you more about the last 2 years than I could the 58
Mm.
prior. So,
Mm. So true. So true. That resonates deeply. So, what are you looking forward to now?
retirement. And I say that because I don't think I'll ever quit working, but I will not be on the hamster wheel 24/7. I'm learning to live in my stillness. I'm learning to be okay with nothing to do but relax. And that is very hard when you've been a grinder for as long as I have been. So what am I looking forward to? I'm looking forward to actually giving my wife the best of me, not the rest of me, not the leftover part.
Oh, I love that.
And we've been together 11 years, and she deserves the wholeness of me, not the fragment part that she's been getting.
And when you say that to her, what is her response?
I'll believe it when I see it. No, she's very supportive of everything that I've ever done, and she wants that for me too. You know, some of our minor fights or she tries to get me to slow down. You know, I want sit down and rest, sit down and no, I don't have time, right? So she's looking forward to when I actually give that to myself because she knows it's a gift.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is. So, as we just finished talking about, though, when we heal, then we have a responsibility to serve. So, what does service look like in retirement for you?
Well, like I said, I don't think I'll ever retire. I still have my coaching business where I help, people transform their lives and step into their purpose and passion. My ultimate goal really is to get on more paid speaking stages and share my story and my message to a broader audience. One-on-one coaching, I love. I love the intimacy of getting to know that person and helping them grow. But like you said earlier, one-to-one is very difficult to scale. One-to-many allows me to impact. And I want the next decades of my life to be more impactful than the first
Yep.
six were, you know.
Yeah. Understood. Understood. Well, as you know, I end all of my episodes with the same question. And so I'm going to ask it of you, Daryl. What does it mean for you to let your glory shine?
That to me means being authentic in every phase of my life, not just here or there, or not just with my family or not just with my friends, but in every phase of my life. You can love me, you can hate me, you can agree with me, you can disagree with me, but if I'm being me and I can lay my head on the pillow, that's the authenticity that I'm looking for. And that's allowing my own glory to shine.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that in every season, right? Because we're continuing. There's never like an end zone where you're like, and I'm healed, right? Like
Right.
the
No,
evolution continues, the ascension continues, the rising continues, the healing continues. And then as we do that, we realize, oh, there's more, right? Because as we continue to step into our fullness, more is unveiled for us to see, right? I That's every time where I'm like, could there be more? Oh, there's more. And
there's
then
more.
there's more.
Yeah.
And so it's fun to just get to be like, okay, there's more. I'm assuming there's more,
Life is definitely a destination, or excuse me,
not a destination.
not a destination. It's a
Yeah.
journey and
Yes.
it's a never ending journey. So you're right. There's something more.
Yeah. And I don't ever want to be that person that says I have it all figured out or that I've seen enough. Like I want to have the curiosity of a young child forever because when you just like the Bible says, right? When you can see through the lens of a child, the beauty of everything around is exactly that. It's beauty, right? And the innocence, right? The creativity, the imagination, all of those things. When I watch how a child is able to see the world, and I'm like, I don't have memories like that because, trauma overtook at such a young age. But now I get to enjoy that through my nieces and nephews. I get to enjoy that through other kids. So I love that. Well, thank you so much for being on my show, Daryl. This always goes way too fast, especially when the conversation is flowing. But thank you for the time. Thank you for your friendship. Thank you for your mentorship. I so appreciate you in my life. So thank you for being here.
Well, I thank you for being a part of my life and for all you're bringing, and keep your glory shining as well.
I will. Thank you so much. Thanks again for being here. We will be back same time, same station next week. Let your glory shine. Good night.
Let glory shine from the ashes I rise. Every scar a story, every tear baptized. This is my freedom, this is my climb. Let glory shine, it's the power inside. This is your prosperity era, where dreams align with grace, abundance flows like rivers. You've stepped into your place. Rise, reign, and remember, you were born to shine. Welcome to your moment, Prospera, it's time.
We hope you enjoyed today's show on Prospera TV Network. Make it a point to visit us on YouTube and catch all your favorite shows anytime you want. Interested in hosting a show of your own? Or advertising your business on our network? Contact Elena Rodriguez.